Homeless man had no house, but gave a home to a dog. The most powerful act of love happens when you have nothing left to give. The rain hammered down on the concrete sidewalk as Marcus huddled under a torn cardboard box, trying to keep his last dry shirt from getting soaked. He had lost everything, his job, his apartment, his dignity. But on that cold November night, he heard a sound that would change his life forever. A soft whimper coming from behind a dumpster. What Marcus found wasn't hope for himself, but a chance to give hope to someone else who had even less than he did. A meeting nobody expected. Marcus had been living on the streets of Portland for 8 months. Every day was a battle for food, for warmth, for a safe place to sleep. Most people walked past him without making eye contact, as if he were invisible. He had learned to accept this new reality, but the loneliness cut deeper than the hunger. That night, as he searched through trash bags looking for anything useful, he heard it again, that desperate whimper. Marcus walked around the dumpster and found a small, scruffy dog shivering in a corner. The dog was skin and bones, with matted fur and scared eyes that reflected the street lights. Someone had abandoned this creature, left it to die in the cold. Marcus knew that feeling. He knew what it meant to be discarded, forgotten, treated as if your life didn't matter. In that moment, looking at this trembling animal, Marcus made a decision that defied all logic. He had barely enough food for himself, no shelter to offer, and winter was coming. But he couldn't walk away. "Come here, buddy," Marcus whispered, extending his hand slowly. The dog hesitated, then crawled forward, desperate for any kindness. Marcus scooped up the small creature and tucked it inside his jacket. He could feel the dog's rapid heartbeat against his chest. "I've got you now. We're in this together." When you have nothing, you have everything to give. Most people would think Marcus was crazy. How could a homeless man take care of a dog when he couldn't even take care of himself? But Marcus understood something that many people with comfortable lives never learn. Home isn't a place with 4 walls and a roof. Home is where someone cares if you live or die. Marcus named the dog Charlie, after his grandfather who had always shown him unconditional kindness. From that night forward, Marcus's entire life changed. Not because his circumstances improved, but because he now had a purpose beyond survival. He had someone depending on him. Every morning, Marcus would wake up early to find food for Charlie before finding food for himself. He would share his meager meals, always making sure Charlie ate first. When it rained, Marcus would cover Charlie with his only blanket while he stayed wet. When the temperatures dropped, Marcus would hold Charlie close all night, using his own body heat to keep the small dog warm. The people who had ignored Marcus for months began to notice him differently. A homeless man with a dog somehow seemed more human to them, more approachable. Strangers would stop to pet Charlie and sometimes leave food or spare change. Marcus never asked for anything, but he always accepted gratefully, not for himself, but for Charlie. Are you ready to make a difference? Keep reading to discover how one act of compassion created a ripple effect that changed an entire community. The transformation nobody saw coming. As weeks turned into months, something remarkable happened. Charlie began to flourish. His fur grew back shiny and healthy. His eyes, once filled with fear, now sparkled with trust and love. He stayed loyally by Marcus's side, never trying to run away even though he wasn't on a leash. Charlie had found his home, not in a house, but in the heart of a man who loved him unconditionally. But the transformation wasn't just in Charlie. Marcus changed too. Taking care of another living being gave him structure and routine. He had a plan ahead. Think strategically about where to find food and safe places to sleep. He had to stay sober and alert to protect Charlie from dangers on the street. Most importantly, he had someone who loved him back without judgment, who greeted him with enthusiasm every single day, who never saw him as just a homeless guy. Charlie became famous in the neighborhood. Local business owners started recognizing Marcus and Charlie, and some would leave scraps specifically for the dog. A bakery owner named Sarah began saving day-old bread for them. A restaurant worker named Tom would bring out leftovers after his shift. These small acts of kindness kept Marcus and Charlie alive through the harsh winter. A community awakens. One cold February morning, A photographer named Elena was walking through downtown when she saw Marcus and Charlie sleeping together under an overpass. Charlie was curled up on Marcus's chest, and Marcus had his arms wrapped protectively around the dog, both of them covered by a threadbare blanket. Elena couldn't help herself. She took a photograph. That photograph would change everything. Elena posted the image on social media with a caption, "This homeless man has nothing, yet he shares everything with his dog. What does that say about love? What does that say about us?" The post went viral, reaching hundreds of thousands of people within days. Messages poured in. People wanted to help Marcus and Charlie. Some offered money. Others offered food and supplies. Some even offered housing. But Marcus was hesitant. He had learned to distrust charity that came with strings attached. He had been disappointed too many times before. Elena met with Marcus several times, building trust. She learned his story, how he had been a construction worker who was injured on the job, how his medical bills had bankrupted him, how he had lost his apartment and eventually ended up on the streets. She learned about his family who had given up on him, about his struggles with depression, and about the night he found Charlie. "That dog saved my life," Marcus told Elena, tears streaming down his weathered face. "I was in a dark place, real dark. I didn't see a reason to keep going, but Charlie needed me. I couldn't let him down." The power of one choice. Elena started a crowdfunding campaign to help Marcus get back on his feet. The response was overwhelming. Within a week, they had raised enough money for Marcus to rent a small apartment, buy basic necessities, and get proper veterinary care for Charlie. But more than money, the campaign gave Marcus something he had lost: hope. People from all over the country sent messages of support. They shared their own stories of struggle and recovery. They thanked Marcus for reminding them what real love looks like. Some said his story had inspired them to adopt rescue dogs or volunteer at homeless shelters. Marcus's simple act of compassion had created ripples far beyond anything he could have imagined. But the journey wasn't easy. Moving off the streets after so long was terrifying for Marcus. He had adapted to that life, as harsh as it was. The idea of having an apartment, of being responsible for rent and utilities, of trying to reintegrate into society. It was overwhelming, and he worried constantly about Charlie. What if he failed? What if he ended up back on the streets and couldn't protect his friend? Your small action today could save a life tomorrow. Discover how you can join this movement of compassion. The story gets even more powerful from here. Building a new life, one day at a time. Marcus's first night in the apartment was strange. The silence felt wrong after months of sleeping with city noise. The bed was too soft. He ended up sleeping on the floor with Charlie for the first 2 weeks until he adjusted. But having a door that locked, a bathroom, a kitchen, these simple things that most people take for granted felt like miracles to Marcus. Elena helped Marcus reconnect with social services. He got assistance with job training and mental health counseling. It was hard work, facing the trauma and depression he had buried for so long. But every time Marcus felt like giving up, he would look at Charlie, and he would remember, someone depends on me. Charlie, meanwhile, was living his best life. He had his own bed, though he preferred sleeping next to Marcus, regular meals and toys. A local veterinarian who had seen the viral post offered free medical care for life. Charlie was neutered, vaccinated, and given a clean bill of health. The scared, abandoned dog had become a confident, joyful companion. Marcus started volunteering at a local homeless shelter, bringing Charlie with him. He understood the people there in a way that other volunteers couldn't. He knew their fears, their pride, their shame. And Charlie became an unofficial therapy dog, bringing comfort to people who had been forgotten by society. The dog who had once been unwanted now had a mission, spreading love to those who needed it most. The lesson that changes everything. 6 months after moving into his apartment, Marcus got a job at a construction company. His new boss had read about his story and wanted to give him a chance. It wasn't charity. Marcus had to prove himself every day. But he did. He showed up early, worked hard, and never complained. His co-workers respected him because they could see that he understood the value of what he had earned. 1 year after finding Charlie behind that dumpster, Marcus stood in his apartment, looking at how far they had come. He had savings in the bank, food in the refrigerator, and plans for the future. But the most valuable thing he had was sleeping on the couch, a scruffy little dog who had taught him that love isn't about what you have, but about what you're willing to give. Marcus thought about all the people who had helped him along the way: Elena, Sarah, Tom, the veterinarian, his boss, and countless strangers who donated or sent encouraging messages. He realized that his story wasn't just about one man and one dog. It was about what happens when one person decides to care, and how that decision can inspire others to care too. The truth is, Marcus had saved Charlie from starvation and cold. But Charlie had saved Marcus from something far worse: a life without purpose, without love, without hope. They had rescued each other. A message that resonates. Elena wrote an article about Marcus and Charlie that was published in national magazines. The headline read, "Homeless man had no house, but gave a home to a dog. What we can all learn about love." The article wasn't just about Marcus's journey. It was about the thousands of people living on the streets, each with their own story, each with their own dignity and worth. The article challenged readers to see homeless people differently, not as problems to be solved or ignored, but as human beings capable of profound love and sacrifice. It asked a simple question: if Marcus could show such compassion when he had nothing, what's our excuse? The response was powerful. Homeless shelters across the country reported increased donations and volunteer applications. Pet adoption rates at animal shelters increased as people were inspired by Charlie's story. Support groups formed for people transitioning from homelessness to housing. Marcus's simple act of caring for a dog had sparked a movement. Why this story matters now more than ever. We live in a world that often measures worth by what you own, what you earn, what you achieve. We scroll past suffering on our phones and our streets, convincing ourselves that someone else will help, that we can't make a difference, that the problems are too big. Marcus's story destroys those excuses. He had every reason to walk past that dog. He had his own survival to worry about. He had no resources, no support system, no safety net, by every practical measure. Taking in Charlie was a terrible decision, and yet it was a decision that saved both of their lives. This story reminds us that compassion isn't a luxury for people who have everything figured out. Compassion is a choice available to everyone, regardless of circumstances. The most powerful acts of love often come from people who have the least to give, because they understand what it means to have nothing. You don't need to be rich to make a difference. You don't need a perfect life to show compassion. See how you can start your own ripple effect today. The ripple effect continues. Today, Marcus runs a nonprofit organization called Home is Where the Heart Is. The organization helps homeless individuals care for their pets by providing free veterinary services, pet food, and supplies. Marcus understands that for many people living on the streets, their pet is their only family, their only source of unconditional love and companionship. Forcing people to choose between getting help and keeping their pet is cruel, and often, people choose their pet. The organization has helped hundreds of people and animals. They've partnered with homeless shelters to create pet-friendly policies. They've worked with veterinarians to provide low-cost services. They've even started a program that helps people transitioning into housing find pet-friendly apartments, because Marcus knows that keeping families, human and animal, together is crucial for recovery. Charlie, now a healthy and happy dog, goes everywhere with Marcus. He attends board meetings, usually sleeping under the table, visits schools where Marcus speaks about compassion and perseverance, and continues to bring joy to everyone he meets. Charlie's presence reminds people that this isn't just a feel-good story from the past. It's an ongoing mission to help others. What can you do? You might be reading this and thinking, that's a beautiful story, but what does it have to do with me? Everything. It has everything to do with you. You have the power to change someone's life today. Not tomorrow, not when you're richer or less busy or have everything figured out. Today, right now, maybe you walk past a homeless person on your way to work. What if you stopped, looked them in the eye, and acknowledged their humanity? What if you bought them a meal or a pair of warm socks? You might think it's a small thing, but to that person, it could be the difference between giving up and holding on for one more day. Maybe you've been thinking about adopting a pet, but haven't taken the step. Animal shelters are full of dogs and cats who are waiting for someone to give them a chance, just like Charlie was waiting that cold November night. Your local shelter can match you with a companion who will fill your life with unconditional love. Maybe you have time to volunteer. Homeless shelters, food banks, and animal rescue organizations are always looking for people who care. A few hours a month could literally save lives. Maybe you have money to donate. Organizations like Marcus's nonprofit run on the generosity of people who want to make a difference. Even small donations add up to big impact. Or maybe you just need to share this story. Tell your friends, your family, your co-workers about Marcus and Charlie. Post it on social media. Keep the conversation going about compassion, about seeing humanity in everyone, about choosing love over indifference. The challenge: here's the truth that Marcus learned and wants to share with the world. You don't need to be perfect to make a difference. You don't need to have your life completely together. You don't need wealth or power or influence. You just need to care. Marcus didn't save Charlie because he was a hero. He saved Charlie because in that moment, faced with suffering he could do something about, he chose action over indifference. He chose compassion over convenience. He chose love. We face these choices every single day. We see people suffering on the news, on social media, on our own streets, and we have to decide, do I care enough to do something? Or do I look away and convince myself that someone else will help? The challenge is this: be like Marcus. When you see suffering you can alleviate, don't walk past it. Don't assume someone else will handle it. Don't tell yourself you don't have enough to give. Do something, anything. Small acts of compassion create ripples that spread farther than you can imagine. A final thought. On the anniversary of the day Marcus found Charlie, he returns to that alley behind the dumpster. He brings flowers and leaves them there as a reminder of the night that changed everything. Elena usually joins him, and sometimes people from the nonprofit come too. They stand in that spot where desperation met compassion, where two lost souls found each other. Marcus always says the same thing: this is where I learned that home isn't a place. Home is caring for someone else and being cared for in return. Home is showing up even when it's hard. Home is love without conditions. Charlie, older now but still loyal, sits quietly by Marcus's side during these moments. He doesn't remember that scared, starving puppy he used to be, just like Marcus tries not to dwell on the broken man sleeping under cardboard boxes. They both only look forward now to all the lives they can still touch, all the hope they can still spread. The story of Marcus and Charlie reminds us of a simple but profound truth. We all have something to give. We all have the capacity for compassion. We all can create home for someone who has none, whether that someone walks on 2 legs or 4. Don't let this story end here. Take action now. Adopt a rescue pet and save a life. Volunteer at a local homeless shelter. Donate to organizations helping homeless individuals and their pets. Or simply choose kindness the next time you encounter someone in need. Because if a man with nothing could give everything to an abandoned dog, imagine what you can do with what you have. Home isn't about walls and roofs. Home is where the heart chooses to stay. Be someone's home today. Start your own ripple of compassion. Visit your local animal shelter. Support homeless services in your community. Share this story to inspire others. The world changes one act of kindness at a time, and your act to be the one that changes everything for someone waiting the cold, hoping that someone, anyone, will choose to care. Marcus chose to care. Charlie found his home. Now it's your turn to write the next chapter of the story. What will you choose?